Okay, so whether you are working in a gym, working for yourself, doing group exercise, like if you need to do any version of sales where you are trying to like acquire customers, right? You're going to have to engage in what is basically called prospecting. Prospecting is basically where you are trying to generate leads. Okay, so prospecting are activities that are designed to search for potential customers, or we call them leads. And what a lead is it's someone who has shown a little bit of interest in your training services. So, like last night, a friend of mine was asking me if I'm available to do, some personal training sessions here and there because she's got some stuff she wants to work on. And, I was like, yeah, I was like, here's what my availability looks like. I'll reach out to you tomorrow. And so I'm going to call her today to kind of set up like a consultation and see what that looks like, and look at taking her on in the new year and stuff. So, she's a friend. So like, luckily, I'm pretty familiar and am able to like just get in touch with her very easily. But, like she basically is what we call a hot lead, right? It's someone who has expressed like a lot of interest in signing up for training. Whereas sometimes you'll have like cold leads, which are like people who, they're like, someone you've talked to, but isn't necessarily like super, super, super interested. They maybe are like, there's somebody that you've talked to that you have talked about personal training, or you've talked about exercise and the kind of things that they want to work on, even if it isn't necessarily directly like, oh yeah, here's what my schedule looks like. I can do these days here. It's something like that. So prospecting, there's a lot of different types of prospecting out there, right? Like when you're doing prospecting, you might end up working the gym floor. That's a good example. I mean, honestly, like I say it a lot, but like racking weights, wiping down machines, things like that. We were looking it up last night for any of you who were in the evening class, but we went to like John Reed Fitness. This is like the gym that Hector goes to and stuff. It's like a freaking club. And the whole thing is like, pretty wild. They have their music, by the way. You can turn on. They have like their music on the website here, but like it's like a club that's supposed to feel, it's a gym that's supposed to feel like a club, right? Pretty wild atmosphere. But they have everything you're supposed to have, which I think is pretty cool. Personally, I don't think it's for I'm like, I don't know if I'd be into it because I don't really love club music anyways, but but I do think it's really cool. Like I love this like very, very, very simplified weight rack here. This is a very good weight room. But what they have is they have trainers, right? Like when it comes to the fitness side of things, they have, where the heck is the training? Personal training. I can't remember where they kept this on the website. Google, separate this for me. I actually don't see it. God dang it. Anyway, they have training for like $80 an hour. That's their kind of going rate on there. Join now. Is that where they keep it? That's right. It's over here. So they have like these so $80 and you get like a credit and you can just purchase it and it kind of goes onto your account and stuff. So if you were, working there as a trainer, you'd be walking around the floor, checking in guests, doing all that kind of stuff. If it's a club situation, you're probably hanging out all day, handing members towels, getting them a bottle of water, like all the stuff that if it's like normally part of the club, a lot of times the front desk is supposed to handle that, but that can be, it's not necessarily your job to hand out towels or do that kind of thing, right? You're there to train, but this is a really good way for you to prospect. And so like it may be worth it in order for you to fill up your schedule, because once your schedule is full, you don't have to do as much prospecting because you've got a full client list to worry about. Now, on the other side of things, like let's say you're working for yourself, prospecting can be, as simple as even just like in social media, right? like go to Instagram or something and like you post something on your Instagram. I don't know why I'm pulling that up, but you post something on your Instagram, somebody like sends like a like or something, and then like you can comment on that, you can reply to things like that would show like a little bit of prospecting as well. Like whatever you're doing to search for potential clients, right? A lot of times, like you're going to pay rent in gyms. So like Retro Fitness, for instance, that was the one we saw the other day. And like, if you are a trainer, um, you know, you can rent the room. Basically, it's for 21 bucks an hour. So if you're charging like $80 a session, you're going to lose 21 of that to, well, I mean, you could also get like 100 sessions, and then you'd be only losing like $17 an hour. But you lose like, let's say 17, 21 to $17 an hour, somewhere in there. You're making 59 bucks an hour. It's not terrible, to pay some of that in taxes, just so we're aware, but that's pretty freaking good, so that's how we're going to go about this, right? We're going to hang out in the gym. We're going to get to know members. We're going to check them in, hand out towels, clean up the gym floor, walk around, get to know members, and try to like enhance their experience as much as possible. And then we need to find a way to like pivot that into conversations where we are trying to like, turn those into like fitness assessments and training sessions. So that's one of the best ways to do it, working the floor. There's also cold calling. So what you'll do with cold calling a lot of times is like literally just calling like clients. I do not love cold calling as a technique. I think that it is a lot of energy that you end up spending to get very, very, very little results. And that's literally where you're just calling members who have memberships to talk to them about personal training. It is rough because a lot of times people don't want to have those conversations anyways. I mean, it's literally the gym equivalent of telemarketing. I hate cold calling. I find it to be ineffective and bothersome at best. That being said, there is a version of cold calling that I do really like, where you will call clear up lists. So a clear up, and everybody calls it something different, but a clear up list is basically a list of clients who have personal training sessions, but don't necessarily have an actual personal trainer anymore. So to give you a little bit of perspective on like how gyms work, like I was giving, Eddie was asking about this last night, I was giving the advice. He was like, how do you pay yourself? Like, when you're managing personal training. And I was like, well, what I like to do, and this is how I like to do things. You guys can take this advice, or, you can do it this way, or you can do it however you feel like is best. But the way I like to do my like pay, right? Whenever someone, let's say somebody buys $1,000 worth of training, right? And then somebody else buys, let's say like $1,500, and somebody else pays like $500, right? So that's going to give me 3 clients who have all spent. So now I've got, $3,000 in the bank, right? So I'm going to take that $3,000 and I'm going to deposit it into one of my accounts. That is basically my deposit account. That's the one that's linked to my Venmo. All that money goes into that account and that account only. And I threw that debit card away. I do not keep that debit card so that I can't spend from it. And then what happens is at the end of the week on Saturdays, I wake up in the morning, make myself a cup of coffee, and I total up however many sessions I trained this week. I only take 70% of the money from those sessions. That way I leave 30% in the account because that is for taxes. So let's say that like $3,000 is in the account right now, plus whatever was left in it from before. And then I have someone, I've like trained, let's say I was trained 11 sessions this week, right? So 11 sessions, let's say I'm charging $50 a session. So 50 times 0.7 would be $35 times 11 sessions. So I will deposit $385 from one account into my checking, like spending account. So I pay myself whenever the sessions are used up. And that is actually how gyms do it as well. I know this seems like I'm off track, but trust me, this is actually directly tied to what we're talking about here. Gyms do the same thing. So let's say that Chris buys $1,000 worth of personal training at LA Fitness. LA Fitness takes that money, that $1,000 goes into an account that they don't touch. And then every time he trains a session, they pull that session's worth of money out of that account into the business's like spending account, right? That's how the company is going to make money. And, that spending account could be on payroll, it could be on, new gyms, whatever, right? And paying out to investors, I don't know. But that's how that works. Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah.
That's a really good way to make sure that you don't run into the problem. What you don't want to do is get someone who pays like $3,000 and then you go and buy like a new, sound system or TV or something and drop $3,000. And then all of a sudden, like, you're full, you're training all your clients consistently, but you've already spent all the money that they paid you for all these sessions that you're training. And like, you don't have any time to get new clients or new prospecting. It's not a really good way to like manage your money. You don't want to spend money that you don't have. And then you also don't want to run into the problem of somebody who's like, they break their ankle and they're like, I can't train. Can I get a refund? If you've spent that money, refunding them is going to be very, very difficult. So that's why LA Fitness, 24-Hour Fitness, Gold's, all commercial gyms, that's what they do. They keep it in a separate account first. And then every time their clients train, they pull the money out of it. So here's why that's relevant. Gyms are very incentivized to get members to churn through their sessions as fast as possible. They have a lot of incentive to be like, oh, you just spent $1,000. Let's see how quickly we can get you to burn through that $1,000 worth of training. So what will often happen is people will sign up for personal training. They'll have like a trainer, and that trainer will move, or their schedule will change, or they'll get fired, they left the gym, or maybe the member just like took a bunch of time off and they didn't get booked, and like, they've got like, let's say they had a package of 200 training sessions, but they've got like 16 of them left on their account that they just never use. Like, this is money they spent, but they just haven't like used up the training sessions. They will go on a list in the POS system, in the computer. And so what you will do oftentimes when you are a new hire is you'll get into that POS system and you will find those that person's contact info. And then, it's like cold calling, but you'll call them. And so you're doing what's called a clear up. You're trying to clear up any sessions that they might have, so that you can kind of get through this. This is a really great way for you to, number one, get some money, right? Like, you're obviously going to get paid the training hourly rate, which is great, compared to like when you're brand new and you're just doing like prospecting over and over and over again. You're getting what are called floor hours, and that's usually minimum wage, if that, by the way. A lot of times it's nothing. So you're working the floor trying to like generate leads. This clear up list are already people, they have training sessions you can burn through, which is great. That's exactly what we want. But you want to make sure, word of advice, always check to see who the trainer was. They'll have a record of that, and see if that person still works there, and then go talk to them and be like, hey, I noticed you have a client, an ex-client of yours, or maybe a current client of yours who has a bunch of sessions you haven't trained. I'm the new guy. I'm trying to build up my client list. Are you done training them? Did your schedule change? Like, are you purposefully not training them anymore? Have you just not scheduled it? Ask around for sure. You don't want to step on someone's toes when you are brand new in a gym. So that's the clear up list. That's not very applicable to those of you who are working independently. If you're working independently, obviously there's not going to be like a list of people, because these are all, you're working in a situation where everyone else is also independent. So you're not going to find like clear ups that way. But, you know, because you're allowed to charge whatever you want in gyms, by the way. You're just there bringing your clients, you know what I mean? So that is, that's how that's going to work, which is, you know, that's a really effective thing. Clear up lists are the version of cold calling that I think works really well. But normal cold calling, not so much. So we also want to develop rapport with our clients. Rapport is the aspect of a relationship that's, again, this is like the really long definition of it. It's the aspect of a relationship characterized by similarity, agreement, or congruity. That's not the definition you're going to see. If they ever ask you this question on your homework or a test or something, rapport will be defined as the level of trust one individual has in another. So no matter what it is, whether it's a clear up list, walking the floor, when you are prospecting, what you are trying to do is you are trying to build as much rapport with every single client that you can. You know, luckily last night I was talking to a friend, so I have a lot of rapport already, right? But if it was the first time I met that person, I'm going to ask them questions. I'm going to try to get to know them. You know, I'm going to try to be as likable as possible, and I'm going to try to make them excited about the idea of possibly training with me. So that is the whole point of prospecting, is you're trying to like kind of get people's contact info. And if you have enough rapport with them, they're not going to be annoyed when you call them and say, yeah, let's do a consultation. Let's do like an assessment, you know? Now, next thing you also need to do, point of sale, right? So everybody is going to have to deal with this in some capacity. They call it, you know, you will often have a point of sale system is what they'll call it, or a POS system. But point of sale is a client who has purchased a personal training package at the time that they're actually enrolled in that membership. So point of sale is where someone signed up for a gym membership, right? And then they are looking at getting a package for personal training at the same time, right? Certain gyms you guys will work at, you might end up actually doing membership sales. Usually they will have a membership sales team in charge of that, but every now and then there's certain gyms where like trainers have access to that as well. So you're selling memberships, which is just fully commission based, in addition to selling training memberships, which is like commission and hourly based. You'll get your commission bonus on whatever the price of the package was when you sold it, but you will also get like, you know, money hourly every time you train them. Because again, the way it works is their money is going to get pulled. The money that they spent is going to get pulled out of that account whenever they are actually training, right? So that is the point of sale. Now, a point of sale system is what you are going to use in order to actually like make these sessions happen. Okay, so point of sale system, POS system, right? There's going to be a different one for every gym that you work at, which is kind of annoying. But every company has their own like software that they hired somebody else to make. And basically it'll have like all the members in it. They use it to check people in. They use it to like have their contact info, and they have it to keep track of how many sessions your client has. One of the most common ones that you'll run into, guys, and this is probably what you'll end up using at like independent gyms and stuff, is called Mind Body Online. Any of you guys who have actually gone to group exercise or even like a hair salon or anything like that in a little while, you've probably used probably everybody in here has used Mind Body Online, maybe even if you didn't realize it. But basically they, you know, the way it works, if you look, oh, that's not what I want. Show me what it looks like. Basically, let's see if we can zoom in on this. Okay, cool. That's not helpful. Products, fitness. So it'll have all this stuff, right? Like I said, it's like a POS system. So it'll have how many bookings have happened, what the total number of sales are, intro offers that have been sold, new clients, and then it has all the trainers and their schedules and stuff. So when members check in and like they, churn through like a session, you're going to use MindBody to basically like check them in and redeem that session. So that's how that works. You guys can also get your own like point of sale system. So personal training point of sale system. You can get your own, you can get MindBody if you guys want to use that. But honestly, there's a lot of softwares like this. Like even NASM has like NASM's Edge. Like if you guys end up using this, NASM Edge. So this is an app that NASM has available on the App Store. I think it's like $30 a month. It's actually relatively expensive, but it has like the ability for you to like manage your appointments and like process payments through it and schedule your clients and see it has a chat feature with your clients. You can create workouts and send them to your clients because your clients can download the Edge app on their end and it's free. It has an assessment wizard, which has the whole like assessment thing built into it. So like in the way that we were doing, on the pen and paper, it has a version of this. And then it has a video library that you can send your clients like pictures and stuff. So it's a really great system. It is, how much does it cost? I want to say it's $30 a month. Hold on. Okay, it's $34 a month if you do the online booking, payment processing, and built-in sessions. So you don't have to do the payment processing, by the way. Oh, and they also do have, by the way, for the record, guys, if you want to drop the money for it, it's $17 one time, and it has like a little study tool to help you pass your NASM, like a little exam prep thing. So you can download that and it'll help you. It'll basically just like ask you a bunch of like quiz questions and stuff. $17, not bad, by the way. So yeah, so the $20 version is great because like it may not have online booking or payment processing or video sessions, but it does have pretty much everything else where like you are setting up your clients and managing them and things like that. As long as you can keep your schedule straight, use the calendar app on your phone. I don't think you necessarily need that online booking stuff. And as long as you're just using like Venmo or something, that's what I use, by the way. Like I just use Venmo to like get money for my clients. That's where, I don't necessarily use this, but the trainer app, I don't use it because I tend to like working just with all the apps that I have on my phone regularly. So it's not worth $20 a month to me, but like when you're new to this stuff and like, you want to build your workouts for your clients and send them that way. I think this could be like a very valuable tool. So that's NASM's Edge app. I wonder if they have like a video that we can watch of like how this works. Not really. I mean, here's what those are the videos that I pull up in class all the time. Those are like the demos. But I was hoping to see like a thing where they're walking people through it. So that's a point of sale system, okay? Or a POS system, if you want to call it that. So a point of sale is different from a POS system, but a point of sale is a client who has purchased personal training, right? When a new member signs up at the gym and agrees to pay for training simultaneously, we call that point of sale. POS systems are the software that logs membership data and training sessions. So you want to make sure you have some version of a POS system. My POS system is literally an Excel spreadsheet. That's all I use. Well, not even an Excel spreadsheet. It's a Google Sheets, because using that is just constantly. I can go to it on any computer in the world. if my phone dies or, you know, something like that, if somebody drops a dumbbell on it, you know, like, and I don't have access to my phone, I need to know what my appointments are. I can always see it on like a computer if I need to. So I like Google Sheets for that. And it's very simple. I literally watch how fast you can make one of these yourself. You can literally just open Excel or, you know, Google Sheets or whatever, and you just set it up. Oh, great. Nice job. Yeah. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then you put in another column here, and you got like 6 a.m., 6:30, 7, 7:30, 8, 8:30, right? This should. Oh my God, that's so dumb. Why are you like this, Excel? All right, so then like you can just like book your appointments like this. This is literally like something that took me 5 minutes to make. And I'm like, all right, I got, you know, today, for instance, it's Wednesday. So like 7 a.m. set for 60 minutes, which means that like, then I'll just go like this and book it like that. Very, 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 very simple. But you want to drop 20 bucks a month to have like a software that does that for you? Great. If that's worth it to you guys, go for it. I think that that's awesome. You know, personally, my system, I set that up and change it every Saturday. I like to do it on Saturdays because I like to do jack squat on Sundays. And I just do it before Ultimate because I don't have anything going on in my mornings before I go play. So more vocabulary. I forgot how much vocabulary is like such a big part of of this PowerPoint. So more vocabulary that we got. You'll hear the word new business a lot of times in gyms. This is basically a client who is brand new, who has purchased personal training. New business is like, you know, if I were chatting right now with Joseph and I was like, hey, let's get you signed up. And he was like, great, let's do it. You know, and he hasn't even necessarily trained with me, or maybe he has, but like it's his first like time going through a package. That is considered new business. New business is great because you get commission bonuses on it. You know, new business is really nice because they're new clients who are excited and you just filled up some of your schedule. But I'll tell you from experience, you don't necessarily always want to rely on new business. Here's the weird thing about working in commissions. And this is like if you're working at a gym, you will actually make a greater commission as long as you hit a certain amount of like monetary sales. So if you can do that every month, that's actually very good for your paycheck, and in a weird way, you're incentivized for it. So let's say that means that you're training 3 sessions a week for 4 weeks. So you're selling a package of 12. Now you could sell that same client a cheaper session rate by selling them a package of 24, and then you are booked for 2 months. But your commission will be bigger, obviously, because it's more money that they're spending, but your commission will be smaller overall because you're not going to get a new commission the next month. Does that make sense? Because you get commission bonuses when you hit certain levels, 10 grand, 15 grand, 20 grand, like whatever. When you hit these like numbers, you get like a certain payout, like commission bonus. So you're actually kind of incentivized to get your clients to re-up on a monthly basis. Here's what I'll say though. Me personally, I like the security. I will take less of a commission bonus to have the security of like a client who has 6 months worth of sessions and I don't have to like resell them. They already bought it all. It's all guaranteed money that I'm going to get for the next 6 months. I prefer that, which is why on the personal level, when you look at like how to do your prices, you will often offer a cheaper discount for buying more because that security is great. Let me see. I sent someone a modified. This is my hold on a second. Let me see if I can find her. This is Hold on one second. I'm trying to find the pricing sheet that I sent my client recently. Because I didn't do online coaching until this person wanted to start training. And then when that happened, I was like, all right, let's do it. And so I had to make up pricing. And I cannot freaking find my prices sheet. Man, I'm sorry, I can't find it. That sucks. So I had to like make this one up. I'll just show you a different one. Okay, so these are basically what I used to charge. Not what I charge anymore. This goes down to $50 an hour, which is not enough for me anymore. But like this is like what I used to charge when I was like pretty early on. So like a single session was $70, 6 session was 60 each, 12 sessions they get it for 55, 24 sessions they get it for 50. So that's a $1,200 package for basically like 2 months of training if they're training 3 days a week. Great. Or, you know, maybe that'll last them longer than that. If they're trained 2 days a week, that would obviously last a lot longer. 1 day a week, it's going to last a really long time, you know, basically half a year. So that is one approach to this, right? This is one of the ways that you can basically run your prices. I think this is a little low, but this is very early on in my career. You know, this is when I was just started doing personal training. So if that's what you want to charge, awesome. Those are new signs. When somebody pays that for the first time, that's a new sign or a new business, right? There are also re-signs, which are like totally where you want your money coming from, right? Re-signs are an existing client who is elected to continue personal training. This is somebody who is recommitting on a regular, right? Some people, that's what they want to do. They're not interested in paying, you know, they're not interested in paying, you know, more per hour or anything like that. But at the same time, they want to have the freedom and flexibility of like canceling on you at some point, which is fine. So what you want to do is you want to continually re-sign them up for training because you'll get a good commission bonus and you know, obviously you're going to keep your schedule full. You continue to go do a good job with someone, guys, they're going to want to keep training with you. Even if you're working in corrective exercise and you're working through like an injury or something like that, they're going to be in a good place. You know, you're going to be continually like, you know, getting them to like a new level all the time. And you want to become part of their routine, you know? So any questions so far? Any of this vocabulary is always pretty clear? There's all the stuff that they're going to talk to you about on your first day on the job, but also like, you know, tips for how to manage it yourself if you're doing this alone. I really haven't goofed around with the NASA Med app, by the way, but I do recommend it. I think it, like what I've seen of it, it looks pretty effective. But at the same time, I have had a very hard time. I tried to download it as like a free trial, and I found it really, really difficult to get the damn thing to work. But that was, you know, that was a long time ago. So now you need to do what's called forecasting. We talked about forecasting yesterday. Forecasting is the process by which you are going to apply percentages based on your previous performances to determine like your future sales outcomes. Yesterday, when we talked about like calculating your closing percentage, for instance, that was a version of forecasting so that you can accurately determine how long it's going to take you to fill up your new client list. So Mir, you had a good question yesterday. Because because you were like, we were talking about if you were signing up for new clients, right? If your closing percentage is 10%, right, and you need to have 30 sessions a week, you need to talk to 300 people, right?
Yeah.
But what happens if like somebody signs up and they train 3 days a week? Well, then that counts as 3 people basically, because we were under the assumption that every person is going to train 1 session per week. So you need 30 clients.
Yeah.
Chances are you probably don't actually need that. So many people are going to train 2, 3, 4 times a week. Sometimes you'll get a client, man. Every now and then you get that person who wants to train 5 days a week. Oh, it's the best.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. Like probably like 3, 4 times a week.
Yeah. If that happens, obviously you don't. I mean, imagine if you had 30 clients all training 3 days a week. That's 90 hours a week. You're not going to pull that off. Yeah, that's not going to work. Good problem to have, but it is a problem at that point. It's what are we gonna do with all this champagne? So that's why we've got to do forecasting. So you'll probably work with your manager, or you should be working with yourself and like doing this. You should be forecasting as often as possible. So again, this is going to come down to knowing 2 things: how much money you want to make and what your closing percentage is, right? We looked at that version earlier where like my prices went down to $50 an hour. Let's say I want to make $65,000 a year. 65,000 divided by 50 weeks, that's going to be $1,300 a week divided by $50. That means I need 26 sessions per week. If I train a roommate 3 times a week, right? That I've got 3 of those to go away. If I train like another friend twice per week, right? So now I need 21 more people. So now it's like I can use this. I got one client a week, and I've got another client who trains like 3 days a week, and I got another client who trains 2 days a week, and that's pretty much my whole client list, which actually isn't a lot. So I'm not pulling in 65 grand a year in personal training. Most of my money comes from these Zoom calls, like, and grading papers and stuff, like most of my stuff. But, of that, if I need that many like sessions per week, I'm getting about half of that. So like on top of like what I make at Sochi, personal training wise, I'm pulling in, I actually don't charge $50 an hour. I charge more than that. So, I'm pulling in an extra, 40 grand or a year or so. And that's only training a couple hours, guys. Like I do this, that's my side hustle, that's where you want to be with your training. I mean, if you want to be your full career, honestly, I would make more money if I did it as a full career, but I like teaching. So I don't know. This is where I need to be in my life right now. But I would definitely, for the record, make, you guys can, be aware of this. You will make way more money doing training as long as you are committed to it full time. Even if it is only like $50 an hour. So that is how your forecasting works. You need to develop a plan for your forecasting. Like you want to sit down and write this stuff out. I recommend every one of you guys, like sit down and like ask yourself, how much money do I want to make? And then once you have an answer to that question, ask yourself how many hours a week you want to work, right? Let's say you're starting out, you just want to make 50 grand a year, right? That's a good starting place for a trainer, very early on. Cool. All right. And let's say you want to work 20 hours a week. Okay, cool. 20 hours a week. So 50 grand divided by 50 weeks divided by 20, that's $50 a session. Easy math, so that's how we are going to do that. So that's your forecasting. You will also have these other percentages like I talked about. You'll have a show percentage. Show percentage is just like closing percentage. You can actually calculate those out if you want. I never put like a big emphasis on show percentage, but basically it was the percentage of people that you actually book for an assessment or for a complimentary hour, it's like your closing percentage, but without the actual signing up. That's kind of nice to know because it's like, okay, I talked to, 10 people on the floor today. and 3 of them wanted a complimentary session. My show percentage is 30%. And of those 3 people that I talked to into that consultation, 1 of them signed up for personal training. So of the 10 people, so of my show percentage, I'm booking about 33% of the people who I show consultations to. And I'm booking about 10% of the people I talk to on the gym floor. Does that make sense? How those 2 numbers work? We didn't talk about show percentages yesterday, but they can both be valuable in their own way. Personally, I don't take the time to calculate my show. I never have. But sometimes your manager will do it. I had a manager, who threatened to make us do it. And by threatened, I mean, he was really nice, but he was like, yeah, we're going to calculate out your show percentages and closing percentages so we can get really specific. And I was like, already full on my schedule. I was like, I'm not doing any of that. So I just kind of avoided him until he stopped asking. That works if you're established. That works if you've been doing it for a while. I'd been working at that gym for like 3 years at that point. So anyway, that's your how you're going to calculate those out. That's going to help with your forecasting. So when it comes to face-to-face prospecting, when you're running around talking to people, again, you want to have that mindset of like, if my entire fitness career was based on how this one person is evaluating my performance, like in this moment, should I change anything? Should I be friendlier? Should I be louder? Should I be more enthusiastic? Should I be more specific? Should I be more knowledgeable? What do I need to do in this moment? Would I change anything right now? Or am I absolutely crushing it? Both are very valid questions to ask yourself. But you should basically treat it as if you are in a perpetual job interview. You are always trying to make the best impression. Remember when we were talking about interviewing, and I was talking about, you'll get those like situational questions, which are like, what they want is they want like a textbook answer to an HR problem. In the real world, would you actually report, one of your coworkers for banging on the vending machine so they can get like a free bag of Cheetos? I probably wouldn't take the time to do that. But if someone asked me in an interview what I would do, I'd be like, oh, I would report them to my superior, because I know that's the right answer that they're looking for. That's what you're doing when you're working the gym floor. You want to treat it as if you are, in a job interview. Or for those of you who are going to work for yourself, when you're meeting a client out in the world and they ask you about fitness and stuff and you want to talk to them, you should treat it like a job interview. You're trying to be as friendly, approachable, and enthusiastic as possible. So prospecting might seem very difficult and very intimidating, but the better, like, this is going to sound kind of weird and obvious, but like, the better you get at it, the better you get out of it. Like, that's, I know that doesn't really make sense, but what I mean by that is like, it is hard and intimidating until it's not. It is literally just practice. How do we get bigger muscles? We go to the gym. Well, how hard do you have to work? Look, hard, and that's the answer to that question, but like, also just consistently. Consistent will get you further. Consistent practice in the gym will get you further than 1 or 2 really great, ideal, perfect sessions. Like 5 sessions a week consistently that are kind of mediocre, honestly, will get you better results than 2 sessions a week that are really killer, right? Because that's how it works. That's how consistency works. I would much rather have someone who's consistently plugging away, even if they aren't selling massive, like, big packages, rather than that one person who gets that like white whale sale every now and then where they're like, I sold a giant package. And it's like, yeah, but that's the only thing you've sold all month, right? Same thing is true of prospecting. Like, you don't have to be perfect at it, but the more you practice it, the better you will get. There are a lot of things to do when it comes to prospecting. Work the floor, offer suggestions, instruct people in technique. If you're walking around and you're like, somebody is like, hey, how do I do this exercise? Like, great, let me show you, right? get into it. Like, and you can do this at private gyms, by the way. Like if you're paying rent somewhere, you can still work out there and hang out and get to know all the members. That's totally fine. You have a free membership at gyms like that. So like that retrofit, right? They don't have a training staff. They just have a gym memberships, and then they offer it to be used by personal trainers. You guys can work the floor in places like that. You can stand out, you're working for yourself. You are just running your business out of this pre-existing gym. But part of you running your business is, consistently trying to sell members on, get them training sessions. So do new member orientations, right? Hand out towels. There's a million different prospecting stuff out there. Social media, emails. You can go to company sponsored events. A lot of times, how many times have you guys seen LA Fitness? I feel like does this more than anybody. But how many times have you guys seen people handing out like those free week memberships at like out in front of like a Ralph's or like out in front of a Vons or something? LA Fitness does that all the time. So go to stuff like that, get to know people. Raffles, that's actually why Planet Fitness does Pizza Mondays or whatever they do, Pizza Fridays, whatever they call it. They do it because they have like raffles, and they offer like, prizes and stuff. And it's like a big party every week. If you were there and you're like, hey, I'm offering, free personal training, it's a great way to prospect. And then somebody's like, well, that was fun, I want to keep doing that. And it's like, great, well, let's get you signed up. Any way that you are meeting new people. Another way that you can do this is professional networking. Networking is definitely going to be a big part of your guys' life. This is something you want to do as often as possible, because the better you are at it, the more sessions you are going to have. My roommate is the greatest networker of all time. I've never met anybody as good at it as he is. And it's because he constantly like puts it on the books. When someone's like, when you get that phrase where someone's like, we should hang out sometime, or like, we should do this again, we should have a board game night, like something, people will just like, it's like, that's like totally LA does that all, like living here all the time. It's like people just going, we should do this sometime. And it's like not defined. They just like want to do it eventually. It's like, all right, great. What about the 17th? Put it on the freaking books. That's the key. Establish like a meaningful relationship with people. Do your networking, right? Get their contact info, put it in your phone, and then put yourself a reminder, right? Like I literally have, if you look at my calendar right now, today alone, I have 2 reminders right now to call my friends, right? I got to call my friend to talk to him. He was asking for some advice. So I was like, great. So I put it on the books. I was like, I'll call you on Wednesday. And then I got to call my mom today as well, which I'm excited to talk to my mom. I love talking to my mom, but it is because I'm pretty sure she's putting her cat down today. So she's not going to be in a good place. So I had to give myself a reminder because I don't want to forget. And I give myself like, hey, call mom at, 11 a.m. So do that kind of stuff. That's part of your networking. The key to networking, guys, is to not forget to actually make the freaking phone call. And that sounds so small, but trust me, like it's the biggest mistake that I would make constantly. I'd be like, yeah, let's do it. And I never call. I'm like, oh man, I didn't get that session. That sucks. Also, cross-departmental interaction. If you are working in a gym, guys, get to know the front desk. Get to know the sales team too. The sales team is great because the sales team's job is to sign someone up for memberships. A lot of times they'll be offering like a free personal training session. And so like the more rapport you have with the sales team, the more likely they are to go, oh, well, hey, you get a free session that goes along with this. We're going to put you with Edwin, and then they'll like look at the, you're going to be the person that pops in if you're the person who's always around and friendly and, exciting and stuff. That's why you want to develop like a niche or a personality in your gym. Me, I wanted to be the corrective exercise guy. So whatever gym I go to, I'm always talking about corrective exercise. I'm always talking about injuries and stuff like that. And so like I had a reputation. So anytime like somebody who is older, usually, would come into the gym and the membership team signed them up for training, they were like, oh, well, Brad's your guy, let me sign him up. So that's how you're going to do that. I will say, though, get to know the front desk as well. So often people only focus on the training, the sales team. Here's the thing. The sales team job, part of their job is to place new members with a trainer for their complimentary session. It's already built in. The front desk, they don't have that responsibility. So like when you get to know them and then they're able to like go above and beyond because they like you and they're friends with you and you're familiar and stuff, you're much more likely to like get something, and they know everything. They know every member who's coming in the morning, and like stop for 5 minutes and like talk to them about like, oh man, I spilled my Starbucks this morning. And it's like, oh, I'm sorry to hear that, right? And then like, it's like, well, what kind of drink were you? It's like, oh, it was a pumpkin spice latte. It's my favorite. I love this time of year, right? So then like, you're sitting around, you hear a little bit of gossip and you're like, tell me about this member. They have training? It's like, no, they don't train with anybody. But they do love pumpkin spice lattes. And it's like, oh, that's a very sugary drink. Maybe I can talk to them about that. Now you got something to talk about. Now you've got an opening line, something to bond over. The front desk is, honestly, guys, it's my favorite place to hang out. I actually don't like working the gym floor personally. I was never really big on it because like, I don't know. It just wasn't something I felt super comfortable with. I wasn't as good at wiping down machines, talking to people while I was on the gym floor, but I loved talking to people at the front desk. And that is where people were like, oh, you're one of the trainers, right? It's like, yeah. And it's like, you want to talk about like, she's like, I've been having this like shoulder problem. It's like, oh, well, let's take a look, take them over, do a quick little posture analysis. It's like, yeah, well, you get pretty bad like shoulder rounding and stuff. Chances are your rotator cuff's a little weak and your lats are a little bit tight. So this stretch is going to help a lot. These strengthening exercises. If you wanted me to show you how to put this into a routine, we can set up a complimentary assessment. There we go. Complimentary, right? Loved doing that at the front desk. They come to you, everybody's got to check in. So you're literally seeing every face. And the more you do it, the more you get familiar with everybody. So that's where cross-departmental stuff, guys, really valuable. Get to know everybody on staff. When it comes to following up, this kind of goes directly right back to networking, but make sure you're following up with your stuff, right? Again, I put myself reminders in my calendar. Today's actually a light day, like only like 2 reminders to make phone calls. That's great. I got a light day today. But always do your follow-ups. You should be sending it on email. Anytime you talk to someone and you got their contact info, send them an email the next day within 24 hours. Just something like, hey, great chatting with you today. Let's get you, let's talk about the idea of a complimentary assessment or something like that. Or maybe even just talk to them about like signing up for training, depending on how hot the lead was. Set a schedule for yourself to like do this, right? That's the easiest way to make sure you're being consistent out. Like I said, I do most of my professional, accounting stuff. I do it on Saturdays. I do it on Saturdays before 11 a.m. because I leave the house at 11 to go play Ultimate. Oh yeah, and then utilize the 30, 60, 90 timeline. Generally, if someone shows like that they're really not interested, like you did the fitness assessment, you tried to sell them on training and they're just like, just not really feeling it, right? That's okay. Try to utilize, we call it the 30, 60, 90 timeline, which means in 30 days, send them a reminder email and see if they change their mind. If they say no still, great. 60 days, send them another one. They still say no, great. And the 90-day marker, send them another one. And then maybe at that point, it's like, all right, I accept the fact that you don't want training. Like at that point, it's, it's actually time to kind of just move on. But that's the 30, 60, 90 timeline. And it's a pretty good tool. It's good advice. I actually really like 2 weeks. I like 15, I like 14 days, then 30, then 60, then 90. But I can be a little overzealous sometimes. Social media is a good way to get in contact people, by the way. But the big thing is you want to consistently re-sign your clients. You want those re-ups. So let's talk about like sitting down with someone, right? So if you're sitting down with someone to actually get them signed up, right, you need to make sure that you are building as much rapport with this person as possible. You want to be friendly, likable, and approachable as you can. You need to have a sufficient level of rapport built with this client. So again, we talked about this yesterday, but ask them for their name, right? There's two reasons you do that. Number one, when you ask someone, you're going to be able to use their name, which will already make them feel familiar with you. And number two, if you ask them questions that they have the answer to, it actually endears you to them. Saying like, hey, what's your name? You are asking them for a small favor, which is to offer up personal information. And asking people for small favors is a really good way to get people to like you. Ben Franklin, like he was a little bit of a mind ninja. So ask them for their name, try to use it very, very quickly. There's a really funny, here's a random question. Has anybody in here ever seen the movie Blast from the Past? It's a weird movie.
Is that the one with the old ladies?
With yeah,
Oh.
Yeah, Brendan Fraser. So the idea behind this movie is that he was like a baby, and like they thought during the Cold War someone was going to drop a bomb on LA. And so like they get like the warning and they go down into their bunker, and at the same time that happens, a plane does actually crash randomly in their backyard. So they think the bomb went off. So they live in this bomb shelter and they raise their kid. And so he only has exposure to his parents, who are like from the 60s and super friendly, like, so then at one point he has to go out into the world. He goes out into the world and meets people, and he's living in, modern Los Angeles, but he's got the values of someone from the 60s, and he's like very friendly. Anyway, it's a weird movie. If you guys get a chance, watch it. It's very funny. But the reason I bring it up is there's a moment where he's in a bar and he's talking to these guys. I think their names were like Jason and Jonathan or something. And he's like, my mom always says you should use someone's name as quickly as possible, Jason, and as fast as possible, Jonathan, because it will help you memorize their names better, Jason and Jonathan. And they're like, like what a weirdo. And it's a really funny moment in the movie. But he's right. Like, that is good advice. Like, if I asked, like, hey, what's your name? And you're like, oh, my name's Chris. It's like, hey, great to meet you, Chris. Like, repeat that back. You're more likely to remember it, and you're much more likely to build a little bit of rapport with that person. Valuable stuff. And that's the thing about the movie, is like, he's such a goober in this movie, but he's very likable, and everybody ends up kind of liking him. It's like Ted Lasso. He's a terrible coach at soccer, but everybody loves him. You guys gotta watch Ted Lasso. That's your homework over Christmas break. Watch freaking.
That's the best series.
Seriously, right? It's so good.
Like, every character is likable, but he's enduring. The reason he's such a good coach is because he may not know soccer. He only knew American football.
Yeah.
But because of his personality, he knew how to treat the players, even though they didn't like him. He was still kind to them. He encouraged them, and they end up taking to respect him.
Oh man, it's so good. I'm gonna rewatch the whole thing when I get home. I'm bringing it home, and I'm gonna show it to my parents because I freaking loved it. So anyway, building rapport. Make sure you ask for their name. Find out where they're from. Small talk, right? What do they do? What's their family like? What do they do what are their hobbies, right? Ask them why they're in the gym, what it is that they're trying to work for, And then, and this is so funny because this is the very end of the PowerPoint, but this is honestly the most important part of today. Now we need to actually try to pitch our sale. Okay. So when it comes to pitching your sale, you need to know how to do what we call overcoming objections. Okay. So when you overcome objections, oh wait, hold on really quickly. Sorry, characteristics of professionalism first. This is going to be in your book. Always show up on time. 5 minutes early is really effective. By the way, that's impossible if you're working session to session to session. Do not end an appointment early so you can be to another appointment on time. That's a terrible habit. But that being said, guys, get used to freaking using a watch and keep your sessions timed perfectly. Your session starts at 6:30, start it at 6:30, end it at 7:30, right? Like, don't run over, because then you have to apologize to your other client, right? You're trying to stick to a schedule as close as possible. This is why, remember I told you about the Tabata technique, where you do the 20 seconds on, 40 to 10 seconds off for 8 rounds. It takes exactly 4 minutes. That's great. You know exactly how long that's going to take. So you put something like that at the end of your routine, you're going to know exactly precisely what time your session is going to end. But try to arrive 5 minutes early if you've got the ability to. Always wear the appropriate attire. You're trying to be as inspiring as possible. So you're trying to be honest, consistent, empathetic, you know, all the things of being like a working professional. Now, let's say you're doing your sales pitch and someone's like, I don't know if I have the time, right? So you need to know how to overcome certain objections. The biggest objections you're going to run into, the big four: time, money, convenience. I don't know why I'm doing this in order. Time, money, convenience, and they'll say it's just not convenient. They'll say they don't have enough time. They say they don't have enough money, or they'll say, I want to think about it and ask, you know, I want to like ask my spouse, or I want to think about it, right? Those are the four biggest things that people will often say when they are sort of resistant to training. So you have these tools in your tool belt that can help you sort of overcome that barrier, right? Because again, we are trying to, you know, help these people help themselves, which means they have to sign up for training. You don't get to help them if they don't have the sessions, right? So step one is to validate what they said. Express in a meaningful way that you are understanding their concerns. If they say something like, oh, I just don't know if I can afford it, validate them and say, yeah, I get that. You know, this is definitely going to be a chunk of change out of your wallet for sure. Great. So we are now on their side, because a lot of times the biggest thing you feel is like, oh, it's not that bad. It's not that expensive, right? That is not a great way to get someone sold on a concept. My other roommate, Chuck, is actually kind of the king of this in ways. He will say this phrase where if someone disagrees with him or like has a different opinion, where it's like, oh man, you got to make sure you got to not do that, man. That's so bad for you. He will often say the same phrase. He'll go, I can see why you would think that. That's like his favorite go-to phrase. And that's him like validating what you are saying while still disagreeing with you, right? So like if you're like, look, Coca-Cola is way not as good as Pepsi. Pepsi is far superior to Coca-Cola. He would say something like, rather than argue with you, which is like, what are you talking about? Coca-Cola is so much better. You're an idiot. You know, like it's not gonna say something like that. What he's gonna say is like, I can see why you feel that way. Right? That is validating what they are saying. You may be able to use that in personal training, but a lot of times you're just going to validate by saying, yeah, I hear you. You know, I hear what you're saying. It is difficult to find enough time to work out. It is difficult. You know, I'm going to kick your butt and you are going to sweat and it's going to be hard. Yes, absolutely. Or, you know, yeah, it's a, you know, obviously if you're, you know, you want to talk to your spouse, I get that as well. You know, like, you know, I wouldn't expect anybody to make a major purchasing decision, you know, if they have a shared bank account with someone. I get that. We have validated. Now we're on their side, right? Now we are both saying the same thing. We are not an antagonist to to their opinions. We are sharing in their opinions. So step one is to validate. Step two, isolate the problem. So now you're going to say something like, all right, so obviously we're concerned about the price. But let me ask you this. Is the price the only concern that you have right now? Remove every other obstacle. Like, let's say it was, you know, $10 a session. Do you feel like that would be worth it to you? If it was only $10 a session, would you sign up right now? Or if you had all the time in the world, if you had like an extra hour every single day in your life, would you sign up right now? Or if your spouse was here, would you sign up right now? Or, if we found a way to make it fun and enjoyable rather than feeling really difficult and challenging, would you sign up right now? We are trying to isolate the problem, asking them a very directed, pointed question to what their problem is. And if they're like, well, it is the price, but I'm also concerned about my time. And I just don't know if I'm like a really good fit for this. And it's like, okay, what that shows you, there's two reasons we do this. Number one, it gives you the ability to continue the conversation into steps 3 and 4, but also now you have a very clear idea. It's like, oh, wow, you have like 5 or 6 reasons not to sign up for training. This person's probably not going to sign up. Don't give up, keep trying, but like that does give you a much more accurate view of like sort of what they're thinking. But if they say something like, oh yeah, no, it's literally just a price thing. I just don't have that much money in my wallet right now. It's a really tight time of year for me. So I just can't afford it right now. Great. So we isolated the problem. We know exactly what the thing is. So step 3, we're going to remind them of the reason they even walked into the gym today. So we're going to remind them why they even decided to do this consultation, right? Use the evidence that you've gathered during the fitness assessment, during your time talking to them, in order to continue the momentum of them moving towards committing to, signing up for training, right? So step 3, you're going to say, well, what you told me is that you want to lose, this much weight before your daughter's wedding, right? Like that is something that you're really excited about. So now I think like what you want to ask yourself is like, do you think that, it is feasible with your schedule to make that happen in the timeline that you want it to happen in? How do we find a way to get you enough time in the week to exercise in a meaningful way that's going to help you reach your goals? I think that's our next task. So again, what I've done is I validated them first by getting on their side. I isolated the problem strictly to one little thing. And then I reminded them the whole reason they even started thinking about this, why they even agreed to come meet with me today. And at the end of that reminding, what I did was I gave us a little bit of a plan of action, and I used language that was, this is what we want to do. I'm already treating this person as if they are like one of my clients, and I am coaching them to success, right? Because I want this person to succeed, So now I am reminding them why they even thought it was a good idea. And I am reminding them that I have value beyond, the regular gym membership. And then step 4, you're going to resolve it. You're going to offer a solution that fits both parties. You might say something like, well, if you're worried that you don't have enough time, what if, you commit to coming to the gym a certain number of days per week, and then we get you on a program that will teach you how to do some body weight stuff that you can do at home. Or if they're worried about like the price, it's like, well, what about like this price? What about cutting down the number of sessions to training less often, and we do it a little bit more like coaching technique? It won't be quite as much personalized instruction, but it will still be, you're still getting a routine that's going to be very effective. So maybe they only train once a week, you check in with them once a week, but they're doing a, X number of day split. Or maybe they're like, oh, I want to talk to my spouse first. That one's a tough one. But again, you remind them, it's like, well, this is important to you. I'm sure your spouse supports you, right? And then you're going to resolve that by saying like, okay, great, let's get them on the phone. Let's talk to them right now. You're going to offer a solution that's going to fit getting them signed up for personal training, but also makes them feel comfortable with what you validated them with in the beginning. So if you follow those, and by the way, really quickly, this is a great way to win an argument as well. I have 100% used this with my roommates, with my friends, with my family, and I've had it used on me, and I appreciate it because like a lot of times it gives you a much more objective, fair way to see things. Thomas, you might remember some of this overcoming objections things. We use this same 4-step process in our exercise psychology class when we're trying to help our clients reach their goals and we're trying to coach them. this should look kind of familiar. Again, sales and psychology are tightly knit. But that's about it, guys. That's honestly all I've got for you today. I want to practice this sales stuff tomorrow when we meet up. I want to take you guys through a fitness assessment and then get a chance for you guys to kind of pair up and assess each other. But we want to end that with, you know, a sales present. We want to present prices and try to do like a mock sales situation. Any questions so far, guys? How are we all feeling?
Good, thank you.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right, radio sound. Oh, what's that? Oh.
Are they all clear?
Oh, all right. All right, fellas. So I'm gonna go ahead. Let me kill the recording.